The icy female CEO's contract was in black and white. I provide the high-quality genes, she pays $5 million, and once the child is born, we are even and I disappear immediately. Who knew my talent was so exceptional that I scored a double hit in one shot? On the day of the delivery, the operating room was in total chaos. I took advantage of the confusion and bolted. Taking the twin brother with the weaker cry, I grabbed the money and ran. For 6 years, I've been in the countryside raising chickens and growing vegetables. My son has been raised to be sleek and shiny, so energetic he can climb trees to raid bird nests. I thought my life would pass like this forever until I drove my tricycle into the city with my son to sell goods. A Maybach pulled up in front of me, and a little boy in a sharp suit stepped out. He looked exactly like my son. My son pointed at him, face full of shock. "Dad, when did you go behind my back and have another one in the city?" The CBD traffic was as thick as a pot of congealed porridge. I was stuck in the middle in my blue tricycle, unable to move. In the back, my son Lin Xiaotu was clutching a cucumber fresh from the soil, munching on it with a loud crunch. "Dad, city people are so pitiful, even the air stinks. It's not even as fragrant as our family's chicken coop." I slapped the back of his head. "Eat your cucumber and stop talking nonsense." Just then, the cucumber fell from Xiaotu's hand. He stared straight at a shiny black Maybach by the road, his eyes wide and round. Then he suddenly stood up and yelled at the top of his lungs, "When did you go behind my back and have a second child?" I almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Following his finger, the Maybach window slowly rolled down and a cold, beautiful face appeared before my eyes. Ji-Yu Qinghan. 6 years later, this face still felt like a blade that could cut my heart open. She stared straight at Lin Xiaotu in the back of my tricycle. For the first time, a crack appeared in those eternal, icy eyes. The car door opened, and a little boy wearing a high-end small suit, his hair combed meticulously, stepped down. He looked exactly like my son, Lin Xiaotu. The two children stared at each other, one in a little yellow duck tank top covered in mud spots, the other in a handmade suit with polished leather shoes. Passers-by swarmed around, taking photos with their phones. Wow, what kind of plot is this? The rich man's illegitimate son has come knocking? The guy driving the tricycle is so handsome, too bad he's a gold digger. My heart felt like it was going to jump out of my throat. I had only one thought: run! I slammed on the gas, and the tricycle let out a roar, lunging forward a meter before being surrounded tightly by several bodyguards in black. Ji-Yu Qinghan stepped out of the car, her high heels making a crisp sound on the asphalt, each step feeling like it was stomping on my heart. "Come with me!" Her voice was even colder than it was 6 years ago. In a moment of desperation, I pinched Lin Xiaotu's thigh. Wah! My son took the hint, sat down in the tricycle, and started crying world-shatteringly. "You bad woman! Don't you dare take my daddy! My daddy is the best daddy in the world!" I held my son, trying to stay calm. "President Ji-Yu, you must have the wrong person. The world is big. There are plenty of people who look alike." Ji-Yu Qinghan didn't even look at me. She just stared at Lin Xiaotu. She pulled a document from her bag and slammed it in front of me. "Lin Wang, this is the paternity test report from 6 years ago." She paused, then took out a new one. "And this is the report from last week after I had someone take the water bottle your son drank from. 99.99%, he is my son." I looked down at the two reports, my mind going blank. It was over. Lin Xiaotu and I were invited into Ji-Yu Qinghan's villa. I had been here before. 6 years ago, I lived here for a few months like a piece of property. It was Lin Xiaotu's first time seeing such a big house. He was as excited as a monkey, rolling all over the living room floor. He even tried to dig a hole with his finger in the Persian carpet worth millions. "Dad, this ground is so soft, we can plant radishes here." The other little boy, Ji-Yu Qinghan's son, Ji-Yu Jingqian, followed behind him with a face full of disdain. He pulled out a disinfectant wipe and carefully wiped every spot Lin Xiaotu had touched. "Mother, please disinfect the indoor air immediately. The bacterial count has severely exceeded the limit." Ji-Yu Qinghan sat on the sofa with a cold face. "Until the new DNA results come out, you are going nowhere." I picked Lin Xiaotu up from the floor and brushed the dust off him. President Ji, this is illegal detention. I'm calling the police. Ji Qinghan ignored me and simply tilted her head toward the lawyer beside her. The lawyer stepped forward and handed me a business card. Mr. Lin, if you insist, my team would be happy to discuss the legal consequences of you disappearing with $5 million in cash 6 years ago and the suspected kidnapping of the first-in-line heir of the GU Group. I immediately backed down. Dinner was exquisite French cuisine. Lin Xiaotu looked at the shelled things on his plate and grabbed one with his hands. After sucking on it for a while, he asked me with a confused face, "Dad, why does this field snail have no flavor? It hasn't been stir-fried yet." Opposite him, Jiyu Xingchen elegantly cut his steak with a knife and fork, letting out a disdainful snort through his nose. I couldn't save face, so I started bragging. "What's a field snail? Let me tell you, that free-range chicken your dad raises in the country, the soup made from it is so fragrant it could lure gods down to earth." I described it vividly. Jiyu Xingchen's movements slowed, and his Adam's apple bobbed involuntarily. Jiyu Qinghan looked at her 2 sons at the table, one as rowdy as Sun Wukong, the other as quiet as a painting. A flicker of confusion I couldn't understand appeared in her eyes. At night, after I coaxed Lin Xiaotu to sleep, I started planning my escape. I went to the window and pushed hard. It wouldn't budge. I tried other rooms. Every window was locked from the outside. This villa had become a custom-made cage for me. I slumped to the floor, feeling only despair. There was no escape. The next day, the paternity results came out. The evidence was as solid as a mountain. Twins. Jiyu Qinghan sat across from me, the thin piece of paper in her hand deformed by her grip. She was shaking with rage, her chest heaving. "Lin Wang, you have a lot of nerve." I decided to throw caution to the wind and puffed out my chest. "President Ji, that's not how you do the math. $5 million to raise 1 is one thing, but raising 2? I'm at a loss. You should be paying me more." Jiyu Qinghan was so angry she couldn't speak. She raised her hand to throw her water glass at me, but just then, her phone rang. The ringtone was as urgent as a death knell. She answered, and her face instantly changed. "What? The server is under attack? All data is locked?" She stood up abruptly, her icy aura condensing again. "I'm going back to the company immediately." She hung up and gave me a fierce glare. "I'll settle the final score with you tomorrow." She then gave a sharp order to the nanny nearby. "Watch them both. If they lose a single hair, you're fired." With that, she hurried away in her high heels. As soon as she left, the high-pressure atmosphere in the villa vanished. The nanny was terrified and looked at us tremblingly. Lin Xiaotu's eyes darted around, and he pulled the silent Jiyu Xingchen. "City kid, let's play hide-and-seek?" Jiyu Xingchen frowned with a look of reluctance but was still dragged upstairs by Xiaotu. The nanny wanted to intervene but didn't dare, pacing around anxiously. I was happy to have some peace and slumped on the sofa to ponder my life. The sounds of the 2 children playing and laughing came from upstairs. In the massive walk-in closet, they discovered they had identical pajamas. I don't know whose idea it was, but they giggled and swapped clothes. When he got tired, Lin Xiaotu probably thought Jiyu Xingchen's room was big and round, so he crawled into his bed and fell asleep. Meanwhile, Jiyu Xingchen, perhaps curious about this father who had suddenly appeared, fumbled his way into the guest room where I was staying and curled up on the small bed next to me to sleep. The next morning, I was woken up by the sunlight. I squinted and looked at the small lump on the bed next to mine, thinking this kid had run to my room in the middle of the night again. Jiyu Qinghan said she'd settle the score today, so I had to run fast. Without thinking, I hoisted the person in the blanket onto my shoulders and sneaked out of the villa. The security probably thought I had permission to leave. On the other side, Jiyu Qinghan, exhausted after handling the company's crisis all night, returned home. The nanny quickly brought the soundly sleeping Jiyu Xingchen from the nursery to her car. "President Jiyu, the young master needs to go to school for the equestrian exchange today." Jiyu Qinghan pressed her temples and hummed a vague response. I drove my blue tricycle all the way west, toward my rural paradise. Ji Ching-han sat in her black Maybach, driving all the way east toward the city's top elite school. We moved in opposite directions at a crossroads, neither of us knowing we had taken the wrong kid. My tricycle bumped along the country roads. The person on my shoulder moved and let out a muffled groan. "Shut up, we'll be there in a bit," I said without looking back. The person behind me went silent. Back at my little courtyard, I set Lin Xiaotu down from my shoulder, only to be met with a small face filled with anger and humiliation. It was Ji Jingchen. He looked at the muddy dirt road and the chickens and ducks running everywhere in the yard, his whole body freezing up. "What is this place?" "My home, your shoes," he suddenly screamed, pointing at my feet. I looked down. His limited edition white leather shoes were covered in fresh chicken droppings. He had a breakdown. "My shoes! These are Ricci Global limited editions! They're dirty!" he screamed while trying to rub it off with his hands, making it even dirtier. My head began to ache. Why did this little ancestor come back with me? Then where was my Lin Xiaotu? I immediately pulled out my phone. No signal. Our village was so remote that even birds wouldn't poop there. There was only a weak signal under the crooked tree at the village entrance. Looking at this collapsing little prince, for the first time, I felt what it meant to cry out to heaven and earth with no response. "Fine, stop screaming. It's just a pair of shoes. Dad will brush them for you." "You are not my dad," he roared. I couldn't be bothered and carried him into the house. At lunchtime, I stir-fried a plate of homegrown vegetables and a plate of farm eggs. Ji Xingchen sat at the table, looking at the food with a frown deep enough to crush a fly. "Has this been disinfected?" All utensils and ingredients need to pass through UV sterilization. "And where are the serving chopsticks?" "Using your own chopsticks will cause cross-infection." I slammed my chopsticks on the table. "Eat it or don't. Stay hungry if you don't." His lips were pressed tight, and he didn't dare speak again, but he didn't touch a single bite. At night, I lay in bed listening to the suppressed sobbing from the next room, feeling a bit bad. A moth fluttered its wings into the room, circling the light bulb. Ji Xingchen's sobbing stopped abruptly, followed by a terrified scream. He scrambled out of his room and lunged into my arms, shaking all over. "There's a living thing!" I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I slapped the moth dead. He hid behind me, peeking out his small head. Only after confirming the moth wasn't moving did he breathe a sigh of relief. He looked up, his eyes red, showing a childish vulnerability for the first time. "I'm afraid of bugs." Looking at this stubborn but soft-hearted little guy, the irritation in my heart suddenly vanished. I rubbed his head. "It's okay now. Go to sleep." Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Ji Qinghan was experiencing the most chaotic day of her life. She received no fewer than 10 complaint calls from the school. "President Ji, your son refused to ride our purebred horse air-freighted from the Netherlands during equestrian class, saying it wasn't as obedient as his family's donkey. He also tried to give the horse a middle-part hairstyle." President Ji, during French class, the teacher asked him to introduce himself in French. He stood up and sang a song at the top of his lungs in a dialect we couldn't understand. President Ji, at lunchtime, your son complained the nutritional meal had no taste and pulled a dark, lumpy thing from his pocket to share with his classmates. Now half the students are in the infirmary with diarrhea. Ji Qinghan hung up the phone and looked at the culprit on the desk, the thing Lin Xiaotu called pickled vegetable lump, falling into deep self-doubt. Was this really her son, who was supposed to be fluent in 4 languages and calm? She suddenly stood up and pulled up the villa's surveillance footage. When she saw the footage of me carrying her son off on my shoulder, she crushed her phone in her hand. Several luxury black cars, like a pack of wolves entering a sheepfold, drove grandly into our quiet little mountain village. Every dog in the village went crazy barking. Villagers carrying hoes stood on the ridges, watching curiously. The convoy stopped in front of my yard. The door opened, and Ji Qinghan, in a high-end suit and 10-centimeter heels, stepped out. She looked at the muddy road and the piles of cow dung by the path. Her brow furrowed, but she stepped forward anyway. One deep step, one shallow step, her face full of murderous intent. Bang! My rickety wooden door was kicked open. I was burning wood in front of the stove and was so startled, I fell onto my butt. "Why are you here?" Ji Qing'an didn't look at me. Her gaze fell on Ji Xingchen beside me. In front of the stove, Ji Xingchen was holding a cattail fan, fanning the flames quite skillfully. His face was covered in black soot like a little calico cat, but his eyes were exceptionally focused. The wind has to come from below to create air convection to improve combustion efficiency, he muttered. Seeing Ji Qing'an, his eyes brightened for a moment before he immediately reverted to his cold, aloof expression. Mother, I am conducting an experiment regarding primitive thermal energy conversion. Ji Qing'an looked at her soot-faced but serious son, then at the terrified me. Her surging rage suddenly got stuck. All the accusations she had prepared couldn't be said. The bodyguards behind her rushed in, wanting to take Ji Xingchen away, but he hid behind me and whispered, I haven't learned how to steam rice yet. Ji Qing'an's expression became even more complex. She stepped forward, knelt down, and tried to wipe the soot off his face. Xingchen, come home with Mama. Ji Xingchen shook his head. Mother, I discovered that water boiled with firewood makes better tea. Just then, a bodyguard dragged Lin Xiaotu down from another car. As soon as Xiaotu saw me, he broke free and charged like a little cannonball, hugging my leg. Dad, I never want to go to school again. They don't eat pickles, and they said my singing is bad. He cried until he was out of breath. Ji Qing'an looked at Lin Xiaotu clinging to my leg, then at Ji Xingchen hiding behind me, refusing to leave, and finally realized things had spiraled out of control. Both children couldn't leave me for the time being. Ji Qing'an gave up on being angry. Reverting to her business persona, she pulled a document from her bag. It was another contract. Lin Wang, I need you to act as a parenting consultant and move back to my house. I laughed. President Ji, you've got it wrong. I long for a free rural life. Monthly salary of 100,000. I pretended to hesitate. It's not about the money. 200,000. Plus, you can use the backyard of the villa to grow vegetables. I was overjoyed inside, but I kept a reluctant face. Fine, for the children. But I have conditions. I need 1 day a week for home leave to visit my chickens and ducks. Deal. And I pointed to the large iron pot in the yard. This. My pot has to come with me. Ji Qing'an's lip twitched, but she eventually nodded. Thus, Lin Wang, with his country chickens, ducks, and a big iron pot, officially married into a wealthy family. On my first day, I nearly drove Ji Qing'an to death. I pulled up all the expensive tulips in the front and back gardens and replaced them with scallions, cilantro, and tomatoes. The butler looked at the expensive flower corpses on the ground, trembling with heartache. When Ji Qing'an came home and saw it, her face turned green. Lin Wang, do you know how much each of those tulips cost? Do they taste as good as the scallions I grow? She was speechless. The next day, I used cut bamboo to make water guns for the children. The three of us had a water fight in the living room, soaking the imported Italian leather sofas. When Ji Qing'an returned, we were lying on the floor using hair dryers on the sofa. She looked at the three of us like we were idiots, but she said nothing, silently changed her shoes, and went upstairs. Life continued amidst the noise. Under my bad influence, Ji Xingchen started secretly trying spicy strips. Under Ji Xingchen's influence, Lin Xiaotu learned to use a tablet to research postpartum care for sows. The two children became more and more like real brothers. One evening, I accidentally burned my hand while cooking. Ji Xingchen saw it and immediately brought burn cream and sterile gauze from his small medical kit. While carefully applying the medicine, he said in his scholarly tone, "Second-degree burn. Dermal damage may be accompanied by blisters. The wound must be kept clean to prevent infection." His movements were very light and gentle. Looking at his serious profile, my heart warmed. When Ji Qing'an came back from overtime and pushed the door open, what she saw was no longer a cold, empty mansion, but a house full of the smell of food and children's laughter. She stood at the door, a bit lost. That night she returned very late when we were all asleep. She saw a bowl of millet porridge left for her on the table with a note. If your stomach is bad, drink less coffee. Have some porridge. She picked up the still warm bowl and sat at the table for a long time. From that day on, the way she looked at me began to change. I was no longer just a tool or a nuisance. She began to unconsciously observe me, how I fixed the broken dishwasher, how I set up trellises for the tomatoes in the garden. Once, she even saw a child psychology book open on my desk with dense notes inside. She finally realized that for these 6 years, I wasn't the deadbeat she imagined. I was a father. The peaceful days didn't last long. The murky waters of a wealthy family were deeper than I thought. Ji-Yu Qinghan had a cousin named Ji-Yu Xiang, the vice president of the company. I remembered him. He was there 6 years ago when I signed the contract. Back then, he looked at me like a commodity to be priced, full of calculation and disdain. Recently, he had been visiting the villa more frequently, bringing expensive toys and snacks to suck up to the children. But I could see through his hypocrisy at a glance. At the shareholders' meeting, Ji-Yu Xiang started making snide remarks. "Cousin looks well lately. It seems there's good news at home. Unlike me, worrying about the company every day until my hair turns white. I heard you hired a tutor. I wonder which prestigious school he graduated from. Why don't you introduce him to me?" His words were dripping with sarcasm. On the weekend, there was a Ji-Yu family gathering. Ji-Yu Qinghan didn't want to go but couldn't refuse the elders. She had to take us. At the banquet, Ji-Yu Xiang walked over with a wine glass, smiling. He knelt down and patted Ji-Yu Xingchen's head. "Xingchen, I heard your mother brought a hillbilly home. Aren't you afraid he'll take your mother and everything else away?" Ji-Yu Xingchen looked up, staring at him coldly. "He is my father." Ji-Yu Xiang's smile froze. He turned to Lin Xiaotu. "And you? What's your name? This isn't a place for you. You don't belong here and will be kicked out sooner or later." Lin Xiaotu made a face at him and hugged my arm. "I'm not afraid. My dad is richer than you. He has 2 acres of land, a flock of chickens, and a flock of ducks." Ji-Yu Xiang's face went completely black. His attempt to sow discord was a total failure, but a flash of malice crossed his eyes. On the way back, Ji-Yu Qinghan, who was driving, suddenly spoke. "Stay away from Ji-Yu Xiang. What does he want?" "He's wanted my position for a long time." My heart sank. For the first time, I truly felt that my return wasn't just a family matter. It involved a massive power struggle. Between me and Ji-Yu Qinghan, a silent understanding formed for the first time. We were allies on the same side. The crisis came unexpectedly. Ji-Yu Qinghan's company organized a large outdoor family carnival. The scene was crowded and bustling. Ji-Yu Xiang was there too, acting like a loving uncle, constantly buying cotton candy and ice cream for the kids. I remained vigilant, never leaving the children's side. During a maze challenge, the crowd was chaotic. In a split second at a turn, Lin Xiaotu disappeared. My heart skipped a beat. "Xiaotu!" I shouted. No response. Ji-Yu Qinghan panicked. She grabbed a staff member, her voice trembling. "My child is gone! Quick, check the surveillance." Her face was pale. The usually calm woman was losing her mind for the first time. I forced myself to stay calm. Calling the police and checking cameras would be too slow. "Don't panic, I know my son best." I knelt down and examined the ground. In the messy footprints, I found a series of small, urgent tracks. Next to them was a broken twig. I recalled what I once told Lin Xiaotu. "Son, if you ever meet a bad person and can't run away, hide in a place and leave a cross knot, like the ones on our garden fence. That's our secret code." I told Ji-Yu Qinghan, "Follow me." She looked at me with doubt. "Lin Wang, now is not the time to show off. Trust me once." I looked into her eyes with a tone that brooked no argument. She hesitated, but followed. Following the tiny signs, I wove through the crowd to a deserted warehouse area behind the carnival grounds. In a corner of a warehouse filled with junk, I found Lin Xiaotu curled in a ball. He was terrified, his face pale, but he was unharmed. Seeing me, he burst into tears. "Dad, a man with glasses said he'd take me to play somewhere fun and brought me here." A man with glasses. Ji-Yu Xiang's face immediately came to mind. A clever distraction. He wanted to create a scandal that Ji-Yu Qinghan's negligence led to the heir's disappearance. Ji Qinghan rushed over and pulled Lin Xiaotu into a tight hug, her body shaking like a leaf. I didn't make a scene. I just comforted Xiaotu and then led them out through another exit, intentionally acting out a scene of barely finding him by luck. In front of Jiyu Ziyang. Jiyu Ziyang looked at us with perfect concern and surprise, but I knew he had lowered his guard. He thought his plan was flawless. He didn't know a bigger net was being cast over him. At the emergency shareholders meeting of the Yuanqing Group, the atmosphere was stifling. Jiyu Ziyang stood on stage in a sharp suit, looking triumphant. On the screen behind him was the surrogacy contract I signed 6 years ago. Shareholders, directors, I'm sure you all know what this document is. To consolidate her position, our President Jiyu did not hesitate to buy an heir. How absurd. This is a stain on the Jiyu Group's bloodline. The room erupted in murmurs. All eyes were on Jiyu Qinghan. She sat in the main seat, her face pale, hands clenched tight. Jiyu Ziyang's voice grew more passionate. What's more ridiculous is that she not only brought this tool home but let him enter the inner circle. Because of her negligence at the carnival, the first in-line heir almost went missing. How can a woman who can't even take care of her own child manage such a large group? I propose to remove Jiyu Qinghan from the CEO position. As soon as he finished, several of his planted shareholders chimed in. I agree, President Gu's private life is a mess. Just as the vote was about to start, the doors to the conference room were kicked open. I walked in wearing a borrowed, poorly fitting suit. All eyes were on me. I walked straight to the stage and took the microphone from Jiyu Ziyang. Before discussing my wife's position, why don't we look at Vice President Gu's recent performance? I pressed play on a recording pen. How is it going? It was Jiyu Ziyang's voice. Don't worry, the kid is locked in the warehouse. Once the news breaks tomorrow, Jiyu Qinghan is finished, said an unfamiliar voice. Silence fell over the room. Jiyu Ziyang's face turned ashen. You're framing me! This is faked! Faked? I sneered and threw another document in his face. These are the records of you embezzling $37 million in company funds over the last 3 years. Every cent is traceable. I asked my old man, who's been a village accountant his whole life, to stay up for 3 nights to find this using the most old-fashioned methods. Jiyu Ziyang's legs gave out, and he slumped to the floor. I turned to look at Jiyu Xinghan. Her eyes were filled with shock and an emotion I had never seen before. I faced the shareholders. I, Lin Wang, took the money and signed the paper back then. But now I'm here to protect this woman and this home. Anyone who wants to touch them has to go through me first. The crisis was resolved. Jiyu Ziyang was taken away by the police for kidnapping and embezzlement. Peace returned to the home. But the atmosphere between me and Jiyu Qinghan became incredibly subtle. One night, during a heavy thunderstorm, the kids were fast asleep. Only she and I were in the living room. For the first time, she personally poured me a glass of red wine. Thank you. I didn't do it for you. I did it for my son, I said plainly after a sip. She didn't argue. She just stared at the storm outside. After a long time, she spoke, her voice trembling. Do you know Lin Wang? I was raised to be an heir since I was a child. I couldn't cry, couldn't laugh, couldn't have any extra emotions. Everyone told me the GU heir doesn't need feelings, only logic and tactics. That contract was just to shut the elders up. She turned to me. Her eyes red. I apologize for treating you like a tool 6 years ago. I thought I was buying an heir, but I almost lost a home. A flash of lightning illuminated her pale face and the tears on her cheeks. This perpetually cold woman showed her most vulnerable side to me for the first time. The contract is void. She took a deep breath. Can I pursue you now? My heart was hit hard by those words. I looked at this woman who had dropped all her guards. The hardest part of my heart began to melt. But I couldn't forget the massive gap between us or the disdainful looks from the shareholders. I was silent for a long time. President GU, let me think about it. I stood up, not daring to look into her eyes. I don't want my son to hear people saying his father is a freeloader. I left the room. I didn't see the look in her eyes behind me, which became incredibly determined. Fine. I'll wait for you no matter how long it takes. I didn't stay in the villa as a kept man. I presented my business plan to Jiyu Qinghan. I wanted to start an organic agriculture brand connecting the city and the countryside. Jiyu Qinghan didn't hesitate. I'll invest. Not only did she provide seed funding as an angel investor, but she also gave me top-tier business consultants and market channels. I returned to my hometown, leased large tracts of land, and built modern agricultural greenhouses. I led the villagers in growing the highest quality vegetables using traditional methods. Our brand was called Linjin King Han. Lin from Lin Wang, King Han from Jiyu Qinghan. With her business resources, the brand quickly established itself in high-end supermarkets. I was no longer a man dependent on her. I was her partner, a man who could stand beside her. A year later, at the product launch, I stood under the spotlight facing the media. After finishing the introduction, I looked at Jiyu Qinghan in the front row. She was in a white dress, looking at me tenderly. I walked off the stage, step by step, until I was in front of her. To everyone's shock, I knelt on one knee. What I pulled from my pocket wasn't a diamond ring, but a ring meticulously woven from foxtail grass. "Jiyu Qinghan," I said, my voice raspy with nerves. "Before, I came to you for 5 million. Now I want to grow the best vegetables in the world for you. Will you marry me?" Her tears fell instantly. She laughed and cried as she reached out. "I will." I slipped the grass ring onto her finger. Lin Xiaotu and Jiyu Xingchen rushed out, throwing petals and shouting, "Mom and Dad have to be together forever!" The room erupted in applause. Under the sunset, our family of 4 stood in our smart greenhouse. Jiyu Qinghan took off her heels and stepped barefoot onto the soft soil. Together we watered the newly planted tomato seedlings. Her face held a happiness I had never seen before. I found my unique happiness. It wasn't in a wealthy mansion or the countryside. It was wherever our family was.